I'm here to announce the signing of the new Immortals Vainglory team. Please welcome IMT Aloha, IMT Zio, and IMT Vans. These three players, formerly representing Hammer's Velocity, made it to the semifinals of the Vainglory World Championships last year. And they achieved that largely on their own, without much of the support that a larger organization like Immortals can provide. That's why I'm also happy to announce the signing of a full-time Vainglory head coach for them, IMT Sui Jeneris. Sui Jeneris is one of the most mature, responsible, and experienced players in Vainglory, and has years not only of competitive gaming experience, but also of business experience that give him the know-how about how to create a better team and a set of better players than walk in the door day one.
From player to coach to casting on some of the biggest stages, Jeff Sui Jeneris Chow has been a pillar in the mobile esports industry from its inception. This is the story of Sui Jeneris. From the early days playing StarCraft to his resurgence into gaming with Vainglory, Sui Jeneris has built a name competing and coaching with the best in the industry.
Yeah, so my history in esports, I'm gonna kind of date myself and go over two things. The first one was when I grew up in South Korea. I was a huge StarCraft Brood War player, competed locally at PC Bongs and local arenas in South Korea from 1999 to 2003. So won't go too much in detail there, but I think the main thing is I got to witness and experience the birth of modern day PC stadium esports, and StarCraft is the gift that gave us that, and Korea is a country that did. And then you fast forward to now, about 5 years ago, 2014, Vainglory, Honor of Kings, and all that kind of established what modern day mobile esports looks like. And I was at ground zero for that as well. And that's kind of where my history in mobile started. Is I just started playing Vainglory and fell in love with the game. I mean, it was a beautiful core MOBA game experience on a tablet, on a phone. And I kept playing it when I was, at a GM at Apple, leading like 250 people and almost 70 million in revenue. And I was moonlighting as like this pro player and just enjoying it. So it kind of got me right back into like what I loved about esports when I was in Korea. Because I kind of stepped away from it, to be honest, and kind of focused on my career, because gaming back then wasn't a sure thing like it is now. So I'm very happy that Vainglory was able to bring me back. And I co-founded an esports org, Hammers Esports, back in Vainglory. They won a couple championships and had such amazing memories and experiences there. And then went on to then join Immortals, became a caster, a Twitch partner streamer. I've pretty much done like the whole vertical of being a team owner, a team coach, manager, player, caster. I worked at Team Liquid at Immortals as GM, head of mobile. So I pretty much have a pretty solid and honestly lucky understanding and diverse set of experiences in the mobile esports and gaming world. It always goes back to the players. I was very fortunate to work with a lot of talented superstars, and their passion and love of the game is what created esports. The community that I was able to interact with, I'm still friends with a lot of people from the Vainglory community, Clash Royale community, Arena of Valor community, you name it. I've been a part of all those three major mobile esports. And I think that's what I really value the most. And although joining like a tier 3 to a tier 1, definitely a big difference in terms of the professionalization between the orgs and the experiences I've had. But I think that's always a good thing for these orgs to bring on, support from, venture capitalists and investors and so on. And that's going to help continue to, professionalize and mature the esports, because it's still the Wild Wild West. It's less of a Wild Wild West than it was, 20 years ago or 10 years ago. But mobile esports specifically, though, it reminds me of the early days of StarCraft PC esports. It's totally Wild Wild West, and now it's starting to accelerate. There's, franchise leagues happening. Vainglory was actually the first franchise league for mobile esports, and they tried that. So it's exciting to see, what's working, what's not, and the continued growth of it, especially outside the United States.
As esports continues to grow, Jeff gives us his thoughts on the direction and models it should follow.
Yeah, I think the big mistake, and I think this is for the entire esports industry, I think this is a big mistake, and traditional sports people will disagree with me, but I think we're looking at it too heavily as a sporting thing. And I think it's kind of a misnomer, because if you really look at esports, the experience, the fun, the gameplay, the entertainment, that's what it's more about. It's more like a music concert and entertainment than it is a sporting event. And I think that we're trying to force a incumbent structure like sports onto a global entertainment phenomenon that is esports. I don't even like the word esports, honestly. I think it has to do more with fun and entertainment, and competitive happens to be kind of that added icing on the cake. And that's what I saw with StarCraft, because I didn't think of StarCraft as sports back then. It was just a fucking awesome video game that people enjoy playing and competing with each other and seeing, who's the best at this and that. And like PC bongs in certain neighborhoods to cities, who's the best in which school, and school versus school, and city versus city. It became kind of sporting, but it didn't start because of sports, if that makes any sense. And I feel like mobile and esports in general, we're trying to make it like a sports system, when I think we should really treat it and look at it as a big music and entertainment phenomenon. And if you look at the business models of a lot of esports orgs, the traditional sports model is not working. It's not making money, and you're sinking a ton of money with no clear, tangible return on investment. But the orgs like FaZe that have and built an entertainment kind of music personality-ish brand, media brand, are the ones that are successful. And that's why I think the business model is going to evolve, and these esports orgs will have to think more like talent agencies and entertainment organizations versus like traditional sports organizations. So that's what I'm seeing. And mobile is particularly important because it is not as, what people see mobile is more about fun, and it's a phone, and it's not as competitive like traditional PC esports or sports. So that's why it's really important to understand, like if you compare mobile to like athletic performance in sports, you're gonna think mobile is a joke. And that's what we're seeing. And the narrative needs to switch. It's about entertainment. It's really, that's what mobile is. And people love playing a game, and they love competing on a game that they enjoy playing. And that's what esports is really about. And if you try to compare it to traditional sports, you're going to fail that analogy every single time. And that's why mobile is having such a struggle in the West, because of those roadblocks.
While the West starts to embrace the gaming and esports culture, other regions have already established themselves as pioneers to the vision of esports.
I think it's some of it's cultural, and a lot of it has to do with how the countries kind of skipped the LAN internet kind of phases. Like China's 4G, wireless 4G is known to be actually better and more reliable than LAN internet, which is to me crazy if you think about comparing it to the United States. And people like mistake and they always say like, oh yeah, they can't afford PCs and all that stuff. But if you really look at the industry, China is the biggest PC market in the world. I mean, they have around 360 million PC gamers. That's bigger than the entire population of the United States. So like, it's not like a PC thing and they can't have access to a PC. That's actually not the case, because Brazil has a ton of PC cafes all over. Philippines has a huge Dota 2 community. I mean, they're like one of the biggest regions for Dota 2. And they have a lot of access to PCs. So it's not about them not being able to afford PCs. Like, people love to just make that blanket statement right off the bat. And they don't look at like the quality of the game on mobile. So I think from a region perspective, I think Americans and Westerners just haven't turned that light switch on yet. They haven't tried these core experiences. I think the younger generation has to grow up and really show us the way, because if you look at 24 years and younger, over 50% of these like 50 million kids in the United States that play mobile games only play on mobile. And I think that it's a generational divide. And since Asia is like a decade ahead, I remember when I was in StarCraft, It took StarCraft 10 years, over 10 years, to reach the height of its popularity in the West. 10 years. So it's a generational divide, and I feel like the West is just completely behind on the times with games and esports, and that's why like the beginning of PC esports happened in Korea. I'm talking about modern day stadium esports. You look at modern day like mobile esports, yeah, like Asia is leading the way. I mean, Vainglory pioneered it here, but the market didn't support it. So I think that is the biggest difference that I feel, and the culture has enabled and accelerated the adoption and attitudes towards mobile gaming that we're starting to see a lot of traction in the United States now. So to me, it's more of a matter of time and attitudes. And one thing I think that also is specific to the Western market is over half of the gamers in the West are heavy console gamers, or they prefer console. That's why Fortnite was able to explode the way it was, because it was cross-platform with console and stuff. And I think that's when console starts to die and mobile starts taking over, that's when we'll see the shift, because console like has decreased in Asia like over 50 to 60% the past decade. If you look at the US, it's only decreased like 20%. So that's another reason. We're slower to adopt to the new smartphone, I guess, gaming experiences and technologies that all our Asian, our Asian counterparts are doing. And of course, the demographic and the wealth makes a difference too, of course, because when people start playing these games and then you don't own a console and PC, of course, everyone has a mobile device, so the accessibility definitely helps and accelerates the adoption of mobile gaming, but that is not the core reason why. It's more of a social reason, because everyone plays it and your social group of friends all play it. You're going to play mobile too, even though if you have a PC or console. It's like in America, if all your friends have console and they don't play on mobile, you're not going to play on mobile, because your friends play on console and PC. So that's another thing. And the last thing I want to touch on this point is that people look at like saying mobile is growing so fast because all these people can't afford PCs and consoles, but PC, it's like the industry in PC gaming console has been in decline year over year for multiple years. So why isn't PC gaming growing? PCs have never been cheaper. The access to PC has never been easier. So this like argument about the talking point just remaining slowly about people's ability to afford a PC or console is a little misleading, and I think that it cannot dominate the talking points when it comes to mobile gaming in the West, because it tends to. People kind of just write it off so quickly because like, oh, Latin America, oh, Philippines, oh, China. The reason why mobile is so big there because they can't afford or they don't have access to PCs, when that's completely not true. Everyone has access to PCs through PC bongs and cafes over there. And before mobile gaming even became a thing in Brazil or Philippines or China, PC gaming was freaking massive. And I'll show you the data points. And that's actually the next article I'm going to talk about to kind of debunk these myths here and show the data. PC was like back in like 2000 to 2015, PC gaming was growing like crazy all over the world, especially in China and all these countries that people like to point out. Mobile gamers can't afford access to PCs and stuff like that. So I think that are probably the big overarching points that I want to bring up.
With his resume including Team Liquid, Immortals, and Hammers Esports, Sui Jeneris gives his advice to upcoming teams, players, and organizations.
Yeah, this is feedback that's going to sound paradoxical, but people like always tell us, even in like career life or school, is build your network. But what's paradoxical is the best networking advice is actually not to spend a lot of time networking, but instead focus on yourself. So what I mean by that is be so good at that game that everyone wants you in their network. They want you on their team because you're the best at it, or you're the expert at that specific game or whatever job or industry. And these people that are the best at what they do or make a name for themselves, they have big networks without spending much time networking. And I think that's kind of paradoxical, because like in order to build a big network, you just have to focus on yourself. And if you actually try to go out and network a lot and you don't really add value and people don't really want to sign you and you still try to DM people and send spam and all that stuff, you're not working and focusing on yourself. You're not building skills and you're not building up your own value so that you become someone that's worthy of networking. And I think that's the biggest advice I would give players, because they get frustrated and they feel like no one believes in them and they're trying to network all over the place. Well, in order for someone to believe in you, you gotta put your money where your mouth is and spend time on yourself. And so that means build your brand and build up that expertise where you are like a top 3 team or a top 5 team. You know, you don't have to be the best, but you have to be known and up there. And then orgs will come to you. Orgs will approach you. They will reach out. Trust me. Like when people scout and look for players, we know who the best players are. We'll follow the scene for a good few months or a few weeks minimum, and start scouting out the talent and follow the players, and then we'll reach out to the players. So like, I think that's huge. So don't approach orgs. Do something so awesome that they gotta approach you, and then you get to deal with them on your terms. Like you get TSM Cloud9, Team Liquid wanting you, and you can sign with whoever you want, not having to beg them to sign you and prove to them how good your team is. No, your actions speak for itself. So I think that's the biggest advice that I would give kids. It's hard work. This is not easy. Networking is not easy either. It's time draining. Talking to people, like you have to do both. If you're not the best at what you do and you're not the most known, then yeah, you have to leverage. You can't just not network. I'm not saying that. But the best time and energy spent is always on yourself first, to build something people want, and then network once you have that. So that's the advice I'm really giving, is don't network unless you are like top 10 or top 5. Then network. But if you aren't, then don't even bother. Focus on getting there first. And then you're gonna basically not waste your time, and you're gonna put your time well spent in areas that's gonna help you improve and honestly make you more happy throughout the whole experience. Because I've talked and given advice to a lot of players, and I've seen this same thing happen over and over again, and then they kind of get frustrated. And then what they end up doing is they start blaming everyone else but themselves. They start blaming things externally, or someone doesn't believe in me, and it's a toxic viral or spiral of like negativity, and get out of that. Like it's you control your destiny, and I firmly believe that. So don't be a victim, be accountable, and figure out why people are rejecting you. Why are people saying no? Or why do people not want to talk to you? And then approach and face those fears head on and fix it, improve it. And then all of a sudden they're going to be approaching you. And I think that's the best advice I can give. I think from a leadership standpoint is leaders believe in the ability to make great things happen. So they take charge and create the conditions for success. And I think that is what success is to me, is creating those conditions for yourself and other people and taking charge. Because every failure and every success can be tied back to leadership. And I'm not talking about leading people, like leading yourself is the biggest one, I think. So that's what I think I value success on. And I think for me, when it comes to working with other people, like my players or the orgs, the companies I've worked at, success to me is when you positively had an impact on someone else's life. Like you help them become better as a player, as a person, or you help them move their career forward and become the VP of esports for a tier 1 organization when they were just a team manager, before. And I've seen those people become successful and work their way up. And I think that is what success really is. And it's more about the positive impact that you have on others. And as a result, that's going to be a positive impact that you have on yourself. So that's kind of how, of course there's numbers and metrics to measure success, but those are just the outcome and a number. I think what you learn and how you grow is more what success is really about, because what you learn and and how much you've grown, you're gonna be able to take that and destroy the numbers that you had last year or like years before, or win the next championship from NA to like the World Cup, and you can only do that if you've grown as a player, you've grown with your team, and you become a better leader for your team and for yourself. So that to me is what success really is. And I encourage people to not focus on the outcome or the objective, focus more on the process and the journey. And if you do that, then the journey is going to get you to your destination, which is the goal that you want.
With Call of Duty Mobile dropping soon and the leaks of a League of Legends mobile version, Jeff gives us his thoughts on their potential for the mobile landscape.
Yeah, I think if you want to do mobile gaming, West is much more risky because it's not only way more expensive, like sometimes 10 plus the cost of player salaries and operational cost versus like Southeast Asia, for example, or even China. It's very risky, and I think the key is to bet on the mobile games like PUBG Mobile that are massive and that have at least a millions of players in the United States. I think that is the best bet to make. And I think Call of Duty Mobile has potential because, as you know, so many kids play Call of Duty on console. So Call of Duty Mobile might have some traction on mobile, and I'm hoping that happens. Like League of Legends, as you know, a lot of people play League in America. So hopefully League of Legends Mobile can take off, especially with the female gamer population. I think that's huge. So that's where I would start making a bet, is seeing what is going to transition over from console to mobile in that country. So if you look at every successful mobile game that has become an esports, like Honor of Kings and PUBG Mobile and stuff, Mobile Legends, they're all PC ports, right? So look at what the most popular PC games are. Look at how it's being ported and how it's being advertised and what the player base numbers look like. And that's where I would make a decision if I'm running an org to bet on those games because of the distribution, the awareness, and also the familiarity. So Call of Duty, League of Legends Mobile, I think has a nice chance of being that game that puts mobile esports on the map for the US. And it only takes one game, by the way. StarCraft was one game. People forget, League is just one game. It just takes one game to change a Western perspective and attitudes. And that means just one mobile title.
Looking to get in touch with your friends that you game with? SuiJ explains his new concept in beta, Game Gather.
Yeah, so Game Gather is simple. It's just it helps you stay in touch and with your friends and meet new friends through gaming. So we're building an app and a web app that helps you do that. So I think that when I stayed in touch with my college friends and my nephews and nieces playing video games with them, I built a better relationship with them. So that's what Game Gather is about. We're gonna just make it super easy for you to game together with the people that you care about.
From player all the way to caster, Jeneris talks about his favorite moments and gives some final advice.
Oh my God. Man, there's so many things. It's being a player on stage was amazing. Being a streamer was like so much fun, and being a caster is just like, those three jobs are like the best jobs I ever had in my life. But if I were to break it down and what I would do, if I were to choose one and do it for the rest, being on stage and stuff is way too stressful. Although it's fun, it's not. It's actually stressful to be a top competitive player, and plus I'm getting old, so it's not gonna work. Casting is great, and I love it because the knowledge and all, and the impact of viewership. But I think that the game can change so much and all that. So I think when I really think back about gaming in my previous career in gaming, I think streaming was the most fun I ever had, and the best memories is connecting with the fans that you have, and there are people that follow because you're a pro gamer. But I think that my most fond memories was definitely when streaming and just hanging out with the community and playing fun games with them. And that's what I miss the most, honestly, is being a Twitch streamer and streaming mobile games. and Twitch, like mobile is like so dead compared to like YouTube and other platforms that are doing much more for mobile gamers. But I think that's what I would say is what I miss the most, and my most fond memories is the connections I've made, and how it's translated into the communities online and that stream experience. It's just, that's why streaming is so amazing, and that's what I miss the most. But if you look around like your career circle at least, and nobody really is pushing you or inspiring you, then you don't have a circle, you have a cage. They're kind of holding you back. You gotta try to work with people who are smarter than you. If you think you're smarter than everyone, then you're screwed. But try to work with people who are smarter than you, who will help push you, help open doors for you. And I think that's the biggest thing I realized, and I still realize to this day throughout my life. And the other thing is, like, you have to think about the impact you have on other people. And people around you. Like, you have to be that person that you're trying to seek too, and it starts with you. And I think that is the best indicator of you leading yourself and building value for yourself, where everyone wants to be around you and everyone wants to be with you. And if you find these people, stick with them, because like Warren Buffett gave the best advice, and it applies to professional players and gaming too, is like, don't try to look at a job, look at working for a good mentor. Because when you work for a high potential or superstar mentor, they're going to open doors for you and take you with them, or they're going to help you see things so differently that you're going to grow with them and as fast as they're growing. And I think that's the best advice I can give is really look at the people you surround yourself with, and then also work on yourself, because no one's going to want to hang out with you if you're not driven and you're not ambitious as well, because you attract what you put out. Right. And that's like a cliche, but it's so true. Like whatever you put out to the universe will get back to you. So if you focus on yourself and work on being your own leader and contribute and add a lot of value where you are, then you're going to attract those same type of people too. And I think that's the best kind of mentor advice.